Like many YouTube channels, I have a Patreon, and a few weeks ago I asked my patrons if they had any quick car questions that I could research and maybe answer. I got some interesting ones, so I thought it would be good to make a video to go through and answer them. First up is Barry Fairbrother, who has this question. Why do car tyres go up in width in 10mm increments but always end with a 5, so for example 195, 65, 16, but bike tyres always end with a 0? I thought it might be to differentiate between bike and car at tyre warehouses, but surely the profile shape is a bigger giveaway. I've even been to industry lectures at Continental and the guy speaking couldn't tell me. As you no doubt know, tyres have a 3-digit number that's the nominal section width. That's not the exact width as that varies, but it's the general width. So like this example, the tyre width would be 215mm. And yes, in US unit loving America, they also define tyre widths in millimeters. But what Barry's asking is, why do all car tyre widths end in a 5? Well, they didn't always do that. In the 1970s, Michelin TRX tyres had widths that ended in a 0. There were other manufacturers' tyres at the same time that did that as well. But since then, the European Tyre and Rim Technical Organisation, yes, there is such a thing, has come up with rules on tyre widths. Here's a quote from their website. To prevent misfittings, it was also agreed to have PC, LT and CV, i.e. long distance road tyres, tyre sizes expressed with a nominal sectional width ending in 5s, whereas MC and Agri tyres had a nominal section width ending in 0s. Exception to that rule are the ultralight CV tyres that have a nominal section width ending in 0s, the reason being that they were originally standardised as scooter derivatives by the MC subcommittee. Conveniently, in this document they don't define PC, LT, CV, MC and Agri, but I think an educated guess would be that PC is passenger car, LT is light truck, CV is commercial vehicle, MC is motorcycle and Agri is agricultural vehicle. So yes, Barry, you're basically right. It's a European rule that's spread to the rest of the world. So if you want to buy a Japanese Yokohama car tyre in the USA, you'll still only find widths that end in a 5. Medici asks, has there been any technology-driven transitions in the past that resemble the challenge posed by conversion to electric cars? I wonder if the old giants will survive. Well, I presume your answer just refers to the development of cars, but of course the switch from the horse-drawn carriage to the automobile was an even greater shift, killing old industries and creating new ones. In those early days, there was the same battle between electric and internal combustion engines for domination, with petrol-powered cars of course winning out. As to other technologies that have impacted the automotive industry, mass production wrong-footed many nascent car companies, allowing Ford to take over. As to parts of the car, I don't think there's been anything as disruptive. There have been automatic gearboxes, hydraulic steering, seat belts, collapsible steering columns or onboard diagnostics, but nothing that created that same seismic shift that electrification has. There have been new engine technologies, of course, such as gas turbine and Wankel rotary engines that threatened to change things but failed. Other industries have seen a change in engine technology which led to radical changes, steam locomotives to diesel and electric, and some propeller aircraft switching to jet engines. In all of these transitions, some old companies were caught napping. Many companies go through the same life cycle. When it's founded, usually by some bright visionary, it's got its finger on the pulse of the market. It's staffed by young people who work all hours God sends and aren't afraid to challenge the status quo. As the staff mature, the company matures as well. It's said that when we're a child, we just accept technology around us. New technology in our 20s is amazing and exciting. But when we're middle-aged or later, new technology becomes scary and dangerous. So mature companies with mature workers want to hang on to the old tech that they built, and new technologies are against the natural order. With the EV transition, that's a reaction that every old school car company has to fight. Companies like Tesla have a culture of ripping up the rulebook, but then so did many other companies when they were young, like Ford. It'll be interesting to see how long they can hold on to that young, go-getting culture. However, this switch to electrification isn't a given. In 2023, EV sales stalled. As I've said before, if it's not convenient to charge your car overnight near your home, then EVs are much less convenient. Not everyone wants to inconvenience themselves to save the planet, or indeed believe that the planet needs saving. Governments have plans to ban internal combustion engines by around 2035, but they may run into a brick wall when voters tell them that they don't want to drive EVs. Always looking for votes, those rules might change pretty quickly or switch to compromises such as hybrid cars. That's a roundabout way of saying that the earthquake shift from internal combustion to electrification might not be such an earthquake. Maybe laggards like Toyota will be seen to have made the smart move. Maybe EVs will become popular and companies like Volkswagen, who have gone all in on electrification, will win out. We'll just have to see. For the next question, Bob Seitz asks, when a car has a recall, is there a time requirement for the manufacturer to effect a repair? Bob says he's been waiting over 6 months for a repair of the anti-lock brakes on his Genesis Coupe. Well, in the USA, the National Highways Traffic Safety Administration, or NHTSA, informs a car company that they need to make a recall. At that point, the car company has 60 days to notify the owner of the recall. The nature of the remedy is up to the car company. It could be a replacement, repair, or compensation. NHTSA don't seem to have a fixed time for a recall to be completed, and there's probably a good reason for this. First of all, the car company needs to determine how to fix the issue. If it's a repair that requires a new part, those parts need to be manufactured, which could take a long time. If it's a new or complex part, there could be supply chain issues out of the car company's control. In the case of a widespread recall, it could take a long time for all the repairs to be completed by the staff from each dealership. In the UK, the rules are fairly similar. The notification must take place as soon as a safety defect has been confirmed. That comes after the car company has investigated the potential recall. Again, I couldn't find specific language about a specific time by which a recall needs to be completed though. If you feel that the car company is dragging its heels, then you can file a complaint with your country's transport agency. If there are enough people filing a complaint, then this can turn into a class action lawsuit against the company, so it's not in their interest to keep delaying. Given Bob's been waiting 6 months without much happening, I'd recommend that that's probably the best thing to do. I had an issue recently waiting 6 months for a refund from Aer Lingus. Once I reported the issue to the Better Business Bureau and the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration, I'm thinking. Anyway, things started moving. Before we get into the last 2 questions, I thought it might be fun to have a quick quiz. So here we go. Question 1. What's so special about the powertrain on the Mazda MX-30? Is it A, that they've switched to using an air-cooled engine? B, they've decided to bring back their Wankel engine? Or C, it's marked a change of direction. Mazda are now going to source all of their engines from rival Toyota. The answer is B. The MX-30 marked the first time since the RX-8 that Mazda used a Wankel rotary engine. They don't go out of their way to mention it on their website, but the plug-in hybrid uses the Wankel rotary engine at a constant speed as a generator, like Toyota do with their Prius. The MX-30 has an EV range of around 50 miles. When it's used in petrol mode, the 80 horsepower Wankel rotary engine returns 37 miles per gallon combined. Not amazing, and it has Nissan Juke-like practicality, meaning it's not that brilliant. Maybe that's why they cancelled its introduction in the USA. On to question 2. The Plymouth Cricket was Chrysler's attempt at using a British car, the Hillman Avenger, to stave off the threat of cheap Japanese cars. It was dropped in favour of which Japanese car, also called the Plymouth Cricket in Canada? Was it A, the Mitsubishi Galant, B, the Isuzu Gemini, or C, the Mazda Familia? The answer is A, the Mitsubishi Galant, which was sold in the US as the Dodge Colt. The Isuzu Gemini was a version of the Opel Kadett made by Chrysler's rival General Motors, but a previous Isuzu car had been a licensed version of the Hillman Minx, another car made by the maker of the Avenger. Mazda was selling cars under its own name in the USA in the early 1970s, but Mitsubishi had partnered with Chrysler to sell its cars there. It turned out to be a deal that held them back, being tied to an American car producer with constant money problems. Okay, now the last question. What was strange about the sunroof in the Aston Martin Lagonda? Was it A, it slid back and then the panel came down into the cabin? Was it B, it was over the rear seats, not the front seats? Or was it C, it was only over the driver and not the passenger? The answer is B, it was over the rear seats. Aston Martin pitched the car to customers in the Middle East who would be driven around, so they wanted to create a comfortable rear cabin, although a sunroof without a screen in the baking Middle Eastern sun doesn't sound very comfortable. It might have been luxurious in the rear of the Lagonda, but it was quite cramped. And this was the least of the car's problems, what with its temperamental electronics. Okay, on to the last two Patreon questions, which are about me, so if you aren't interested in that, then switch off now. Bompay asks, you cover so many cars and so many different vehicle types. I know that you're fond of the Audi 100 and your own Tesla, but what would be your 3-car dream garage? I'm a very practical person, so with my no-nonsense hat on, I'd pick 3 cars that would always start in the morning, wouldn't be a target for vandals when I leave it in the supermarket car park, and would be practical enough to get things in when I go to the DIY shop. Given that, one car has to be something that could check all of those boxes. If you saw my Volvo V70 video, you'll know that I'm quite keen on the V60, and in particular the plug-in hybrid version that either gives you the best or the worst of both worlds, depending on which side you look at it. It's also got very fast acceleration, which to me is essential for having a bit of fun. Talking about fun, the idea of an open-top roadster would also be pretty interesting. I love the idea of the wind whistling through my hair, if I had any left. After making the video about a car, I sometimes feel the urge to go out and buy one, and that definitely happened with the Mazda MX-5, but it wasn't fast enough for my liking. Maybe I've been spoilt by driving faster cars. The BMW Z4 M40i would be fast enough, but I prefer something electric, so for now I'm going to have to wait for a new Polestar 6, Fisker Ronin, or even an MG Cyberster. One thing I wouldn't have again is my Tesla Model 3. They recently sent me a survey on my experience with the car. I went in liking it, but after listing all of the things that annoy me about the car, the survey made me realise that I wouldn't buy one ever again. That's maybe the opposite of what they wanted from the survey. The last car is one for which I have a particular soft spot, the Renault Twingo, just because of that happy expression and the fact that I prefer small cars. Maybe I should have given this channel a different name. I've thought of importing one that's over 25 years old as a classic car, but I don't have the space for it. I'm terrible at maintenance and it will be a nightmare to get spare parts, but Renault have announced a new Twingo that will be released that I'd love to own, although I'm sure I won't be able to buy one around here. Andrew Bond has a similar question. What cars have you owned and what cars would you like to own past and present? Well, my father bought me a rusting Morris Marina to learn how to fix up a car, and I got it even before I could drive. I learnt from that car that repairing cars is hard, and rust is especially horrible to deal with. And I also learned that you need to take lessons before driving a car and that walls stop a car very quickly. The first car I had access to once I'd legally been able to drive was a 1980 Ford Fiesta 1.1, which ironically broke down right outside the RAC building on the M6 around Junction 8. I got so tired of waiting for an RAC breakdown van that I hopped the fence and went into the foyer to ask someone to come and help me. Meanwhile, the police had found my car on the M6 and were going to report it as abandoned. Every time I go past that bloody building, I think of that time. After that, I had a first generation Volkswagen Golf seen here in a terrible cine film I made with some friends. That was a great car and very reliable, but it was over 10 years old when I managed to trade up to a Mark IV Ford Escort. I love that car as well, even though I managed to put it into a ditch. I moved to the USA and bought my first new car, a 1995 Honda Civic. I learnt two things from that car. Firstly, it's more fun to take a slow car to a track than a fast car because you have to be more technically perfect to catch other cars. And secondly, in the USA, you need air conditioning, something that this car did not have. I traded that in for an Audi TT in 2002 with air conditioning, which was so much fun. But the 2011 Volkswagen Golf GTI I got next was both fun and practical. Lastly, I got a Tesla Model 3 in 2019, which is a lot of fun to drive, but I prefer a hatchback or an estate to the saloon shape and a colour less boring than grey. Oh, and something that could actually play MP3s without skipping. Mrs. Big Car got a 1996 Nissan Pathfinder, which was okay for hauling people and things around, and my first taste of four-wheel drive. It had one of those wheels on the back that you have to swing out before you could open the boot, which was a real pain. That was swapped for a 2002 Volvo V70 XC, a lovely car that we took everywhere and was great for carrying our small kids. That was replaced by a 2008 Volvo XC90, which was equally luxurious, but I never liked the top heaviness of the car. But it was a good second car. That was totaled, not by me, and we swapped it for a 2015 Honda CR-V, more as a workhorse car that the kids could use now that they were able to drive. Mrs. Big Car had by then bought a mini hatch, which she liked at the time but now prefers my Tesla. So she's driving the Tesla and I'm at home making videos and I'm left with the Mini, which I'm not really a fan of. I can't get comfortable in it and it's not particularly zippy. Now, what old cars would I like to own? Now that's an interesting question. Well, there's the Renault Twingo, of course, but then I have a real soft spot for my dad's old Audi 200 Turbo from around 1980 that at the time felt so fast with a brutal turbo kickdown at 3,000 revs. But looking at the stats, today it's just so-so. I think it's something like an 8-second 0 to 60 time, maybe a 9-second 0 to 60 time. I think meeting my hero would be a bit of an anticlimax. My parents also owned a 1987 Volkswagen Scirocco. It's not Sirocco, it's Scirocco. And I love driving that one as well, so I'd love to put that one on the list. Well, that's all I have for the questions and answers. Thanks for watching. I hope you found it interesting. If you like my videos, maybe think about supporting me on Patreon for just £1, $1, or €1 a month. And if I do one of these again, I might answer your question. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.